Stalker 2 artifact tier list. So this is for veteran mode, and generally speaking, what we want are artifacts that do big things that are really good. But some artifacts are just weaker versions of really good artifacts. So I basically set the tier list up like this. S tier are for artifacts that are the best in any category typically, or they also give you huge value. So for example, if something has like maximum chemical protection, I don't consider that S tier. That's just like at best A tier, or, you know, maybe even B tier, because it's like how often are you really getting chemical damage? So the S tiers have to really do something huge in order to get into S tier. And I'm sure you know what most of the S tiers will be, but we're going to go over which ones are good, which ones just have really good, like, you know, great stats, good stats, okay stats, and then ones that you should just sell that are a waste to keep. So to begin, we have Battery, which has a radiation weak and endurance weak effect. So radiation weak means that you take a weak amount of radiation damage, which when that damage increases, you start to take health damage. So typically it's balanced out by putting it in a lead artifact container so that you take no radiation damage, or you use a radiation protection weak effect or greater. So there's kind of like this like balancing act with artifacts where you can use lead containers to negate radiation effects for the containers that are lead containers, or you can use artifacts that improve your radiation resistance to undo the negative effects of other artifacts. So those are like the major themes we're looking at. So this is a radiation weak, endurance weak. So really what you're getting is endurance weak. So this is like, honestly, I would just sell this. Like you can use it early and then sell it later, but I would just sell it. It's not really the best. All right, Broken Rock, radiation strong, physical protection medium. So some of these artifacts will have, like the categories are this for radiation. You have weak, which is the lowest. You have medium, which is a little bit higher. You have strong, and then you have maximum. So if you are getting the 3 out of 4 highest radiation, like it's like the second highest radiation, and you're only getting physical protection medium, that's okay, but it's not the best. It's serviceable. I would say this is like the definition of like okay, because like the physical protection medium is good, but the radiation strong is bad, so it kind of moves it to C tier, I would say. All right, Bubble, radio protection medium. Perfect definition of D tier. Or I'm sorry, D tier. B tier. It's good. It helps. It undoes a medium radiation debuff, or 2 weak radiation debuffs. So 1 medium can cancel out another medium, or 2 weak radiation ones. All right, and then we have Chocolate Bar, which has radiation weak, electrical protection weak. I would just sell it. That's not very many things hit you with electrical damage. It's mostly just anomalies. Sell it. Cavity. So this one's actually decent. So you get radiation weak effect. You get bleeding resistance. The way bleeding resistance works is if you have bleed on you, it slowly reduces it. So if you have a weak bleeding resistance, it slowly reduces your bleed. Now, if you have like a strong or a maximum, it will rapidly remove the bleed from you, but it basically over time will remove a bleed from you, but just slowly. But it also gives you a weak weight effect, which improves your carry weight. So this is actually a good one. It does 2 things that are useful. Removes bleed, and it also increases your carry weight by I think like 2, which is still something, because if you get this early game, it's really good. It's like anything that increases your weight early game is good. You should keep it and then replace it with better ones as you go. But it also, you know, gets you double, 2 effects that are good, that are ideal. All right, Ciliates, radiation protection medium, chemical protection medium. I would just sell it. Actually, let me rephrase this. Sell / NPC quest. So NPC, what does NPC quest mean? Certain NPCs, you can like get an artifact for them, and they will request a very specific artifact. So if this happens to be one of them, you can hold on to it and then trade it to them to get a quest reward. Doing quests gets you money, typically a little bit more than the artifact sells for, but also it gets you favor with the settlement. You have to do so many quests to turn vendors green. Green vendors sell for less, but as far as I know, do not buy for more. So it's still nice to do. But yeah, I would say sell it or just NPC quest. Okay, and next we have Crown. So Crown has Radiation Medium, Endurance Weak, Physical Protection Weak. So this one you're getting a medium radiation for 2 weak effects, but as you saw earlier, we can get 2 weak effects for weak radiation. I would say just quest it or sell it. The next one is Crystal Thorn, Radio Protection Weak. Honestly, I'll put the weaks in high AC tier. They're decent. Typically, these will be the early enablers of like builds where you have like, you know, radio protection weak and like a cavity or, you know, something else that gives you like a weight increase that's decent. So these are like the early enablers for builds. All right, next we have Compass. So Compass, radiation maximum, physical protection maximum. So this gives you high physical defense, but it also gives you high radiation and requires a radiation artifact of maximum to reduce it, or just to throw it in a lead container, which realistically probably is more likely what you're going to be doing. I think these are S tier. They did nerf them in a recent patch, and I haven't tested their damage reduction, so they might just be A tier as of the one patched. So if you feel like they're A tier, if you have like damage values, definitely just like chime in. I'd like to know. But at least before that patch, they were really good, and I'm pretty sure they're still good. But this is literally like the highest physical protection an artifact can give you. So it has to be at least decent. Even if it only gives you like 10% damage reduction, you know, in veteran mode, that does matter. If you stack it with like high armor exosuit or something. All right, Crystal. Thermal protection weak, radiation weak. Quest it, sell it, get rid of it. Dead Sponge, radiation medium, bleeding resistance medium. It's not terrible. I would put it in low C tier. Because all it does is bleeding resist. For a medium or for like a slot, I don't really, like a lead container, I don't think it's really worth it. Crest, radiation strong, endurance strong. I think this is A tier. So endurance, I'm pretty sure it has to do with how much you lose, how much stamina you lose. It's either that or regen rate. STALKER 2, endurance, let's see. What does endurance do? All right, let's double check what it actually specifically does. Let's see. One second. It just refers to stamina meter. Let's see. By default, it takes 5 seconds to drain 1 stamina bar, 4 seconds for it to recover. Endurance reduces these effects. Stamina regenerates over time as long as you're not running, right? If you're encumbered. It doesn't really explain exactly what it does. Like, stat-wise, it just says that, like, that's what I understand it, dude. It does. So it seems like they don't know either, specifically, with the numbers. I want to know the numbers, but the game kind of obfuscates everything, which bothers me a lot, because it's like, specifically, how much do we get back over what rate? But it helps with sprinting. We know that it does that. It's how it does that. Definitely drop a comment. I'm sure someone knows for sure. Common artifact. All right, so Crust. Common artifact found in acid anomalies. Or I don't know, I'm reading the description. Radiation weak, chemical protection weak. I would quest it. You can hold on to it. Maybe you get it as a quest item you need to hand in. If not, you can just sell it. Droplet, thermal protection, radiation weak. Drop it. Sell it. Quest it. The eye, same thing. Not really that useful. Fireball, thermal protection, radiation weak. Pretty much identical. For some reason. Flaw, radiation medium, bleeding resist weak, weight effect weak. So Flaw is actually just a worse cavity, weirdly, so I would just quest it, sell it. Let's see, what else do we have? Devil's Mushroom, radiation strong, chemical protection strong. I would say this is like C tier if you want to bring it with you for doing like artifact runs, so that you can equip these to tank the elements better if you happen to just step into them. That would be how I would use them, so we'll just put it in C tier for that reason. Next, we have Fly Trap. Radiation medium, weight effect medium. I think these are pretty good. Pretty substantial increase in carry weight. I think it's like 8. It's like plus 8 kilograms or something. but it's pretty nice, pretty useful. There's really not a downside to them unless you have like exosuits and weird water. So pretty good for early on. Goldfish, radiation weak, weight effect weak. This I would say is like similar to Cavity. I think it has slightly more carry weight. I think it's 3 and this is 2. But this also gives you the bleed, which is nice because you're going to be getting bled a lot in this game. So this is a little bit more utility and basically just a slightly more optimal version of that. But it's not bad. It's a little bit of carry weight. Maybe it's high C tier, but it's not too bad. Next we have Harp. Radiation medium, bleed resist weak, electrical protection weak. I would quest it. These are in no order. They're all just kind of get rid of them. Get rid of them as much as you want. All right, Hypercube. Thermal protection, maximum. Radiation, maximum. Bleeding resistance, maximum. So this is one of the best artifacts in the game. You can throw it in. This is like an ideal artifact for... I would say it's even better than Compass. It's like an ideal artifact for a lead container so that you get like really huge fire resistance, but most importantly, you get very high bleed resistance to the point where when you get a bleed, it'll cure it really rapidly. So you don't even have to bring bandages anymore. You can just sell all your bandages and just not worry about using them. But also you have to consider that versus Compass, getting extra physical protection isn't as good as getting bleed resistance because you're going to be running armor with high physical protection anyways. So you can't run armor that removes bleed from you. That's just not a thing. So this gives you something unique in addition to maximum thermal protection. So pretty high value, pretty good. And then for the jellyfish, radiation weak, physical protection weak. I would say it's like, you could run it if you want to for a little bit of tanking early game. It's like around, well, it's a little bit better than these. Maybe it's like here. Like, okay. It's just a little bit of prot. It's not anything crazy. Next we have Flash, radiation weak, electrical protection weak. I would quest it. Then we have Flower Bud, radiation strong, endurance medium, physical protection medium. It's not bad. So typically 1 strong equals 2 mediums. I'm pretty sure 1 maximum equals 2 strongs. I'm fairly certain that's true. And 1 maximum also equals 1 strong and 2 mediums, or 1 strong and 3 weaks. I'm pretty sure that's right. If it's not, correct that, but I'm fairly certain that's accurate. All right, so it's not bad. You get a little bit of prot, a little bit of endurance. I would say this is like low B tier. It's not terrible. Mama's beads. Find it. Here we go. Radiation strong, bleeding resist medium. Like low C tier. The bleed resist medium is not bad. Radiation strong, for what it does, like it could be better. Magic cube, radiation strong, physical protection strong. Or I'm sorry, radiation maximum, physical protection strong. It's just bad Compass, but it's still not terrible. It's an obvious thing to throw into a lead container because it would be kind of dumb to use like a liquid rock on this or something else, but it's not terrible. I mean, it's still giving you a really good tanking stat, but you know, it's definitely a lead container target until you get Compass. That's how I'd use it. Next we have, some of these are out of order. All right, Gravy, radiation weak, weight weak. It's not bad. It's like, it's identical to Goldfish, so I would put it next to Goldfish. It's the exact same thing. Glare, radiation strong, electrical protection strong. So this is just one of the ones you could run if you want to tank electrical while artifact running or something. Outside of that, so it has a use. You could also just get rid of it. It doesn't really matter. Horn, radiation weak, chemical protection weak. Just get rid of it. What else? I think some of these are... Here we go. We can do Kolobok right now. So radiation medium, chemical medium. I would get rid of that. Let's see. Mold, radiation weak, chemical weak. Get rid of it. Moonlight. They love, the devs love Moonlight. I don't know if it's just randomness. I'm pretty sure these, like the hand-placed Moonlights that are in certain NPCs' hands are hand-placed and not randomly generated, and they don't respawn. Like there will be like a dead stalker holding like a Moonlight. And I swear I've seen it like 3 times. Radiation medium, electrical protection medium. Just get rid of it. They look cool as hell, but they're not very good. All right, Pebble. Here's another one that's interesting. Radiation weak, endurance weak, physical protection weak. I would say it's pretty on par with like Cavity. It's a weak that gets you 2 weak effects. That's pretty good. Anything that is at its own radiation level and gives you 2 of that level is good, unless the effects are dumb. But getting like endurance is good and physical protection is good, and it's common, so you'll easily run into it. Liquid rock, a little bit harder to get. Let me scroll up to it. So liquid rock is insane. It's like one of the like obviously good ones. Radio protection maximum, chemical protection maximum. So not only does it give you the ability to nullify a maximum radiation artifact, or 2 strongs, or a strong and I think 2 mediums, or a strong in 3 weeks. It also gives you maximum chemical protection. So arguably it's like one of the best ones, I would say. It just gives you 2 huge advantages for no downside at all. That's pretty crazy. All right, then we have Lantern, radiation medium, electrical medium. I would get rid of it. Liar, whatever. Radiation weak, bleeding weak, weight weak. Another good like B tier one that it gives. It's a weak for 2 weeks. Radiation weak for 2 week effects. And then we have, it also gives you 2 good things too. Bleed resist good, weight effect good. Magma, we have thermal weak, radiation medium, weight weak. So this is like the opposite, right? Like this is one where it's like high radiation, it gives you 2 effects, one of them sucks, and then the other one's weak, so I'd just say get rid of it. Petal, I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, Petal, radiation strong, bleeding resist strong. This is good. I would say this is low A tier. It's removing bleed, it can't hurt, you know. There are artifacts that do it better. There's a unique that does it better. Assuming you don't want to run that unique, because some of the weird artifacts have like kind of annoying effects, but we'll get into that. Rosen, radiation weak for endurance weak. This is serviceable. Just sprint around with it for a little bit. Okay, Sapphire, radiation weak, bleeding resist weak, endurance weak. I would say it's worse than these, but it's still good. It's still usable. Bleed and endurance are good. Those are good stats. Those are good. So not really too much else to say about that. I think it's goldfish, isn't it? Or just, sorry, meat chunk. So meat chunk is radiation weak for chemical weak. That's bad. We don't want that. Meat lighter, thermal strong, radiation strong. Get rid of it. Shell, I believe. Yeah, shell, radiation weak, endurance weak. Not bad, serviceable. Low C tier. This one removes radiation as well. I think it's Mika. Radio protection weak. So where's my other radio weak? Is it in B? Or is it in C? One of the, I feel like this is it. Yeah. I think that's my radio weak. I'm consistent. Yeah, Crystal Thorn, I believe. Yeah, all right, so my radio protection weaks, I think those are C tier, because usually you get like the ones that are in B tier can enable those, which is good, obviously. But like in term, like relative to the other radio protection, it's just worse than them. So, okay, here we go. Now we're starting to get into like the heavier weight stuff. So radiation strong, weight effect strong. I can't remember the exact value, but it's higher. So what is that? Flytrap? Flytrap is what? Medium? Medium. Strong. I would say this is low S tier, even though it's not the high. Like you'll see the difference between them, but like I'd still think this is. You can always equip it. Doesn't have any visual debuff. Well, if that's a spoiler. It's just always really good. You want to run things like this for carry weight. Carry weight's like one of the best stats. It's kind of hard to argue with that. Pellicle, I think that's how you say that. Radiation strong, chemical strong. I would just get rid of it. Or maybe even use it for like artifact running. Plasma, thermal medium, radiation medium. I just don't care. Sorry. It just doesn't do anything for me. Shop class. Radiation medium, bleeding resist weak, endurance weak. It's just worse than the medium, or the weak for a week, so I'll just get rid of it. Skipjack, radio protection strong. All right, here we go. This is good. So this is high A tier for sure. So the best radio protection is S tier. The second best is A. I think that's logical. And then that's in B, and then those are in C. I think that is as logical as I can get with the radio protection. Slime, radiation, weak. Wait, is that all it does? It hurts you? It doesn't even give you, it literally doesn't even give you protection? Hold on, let me confirm this. Is that really what it does? Or is that like a typo? It literally just does radiation weak to you. That's so terrible. Get rid of that, dude. Slug, radio protection weak. Fantastic. So these are your radio protection weaks. They're pretty good. Snowflake, radiation weak, endurance weak. It's all right for early game. They're on low C tier. Radiation medium. So this is soul. Radiation and then endurance medium. Low B tier. It's good. Sparkler, it's junk. It just gives you electric. Spinner only gives you bleed. I'll put it in low C tier. Here's a good one. Spring. All right, where is the other one? So spring, they're right here. These are identical. I think they both give you 8 weight, but spring is pretty good. I run spring often until I get the better one. I do run it with weird water. Weird water I just have in my inventory until I need it. That's how I recommend using it. All right, starfish. Strong radiation, medium bleed resistant endurance. It's not terrible. I've actually used this before. It's not bad. I would say it's like B tier, actually. Like low B tier. It's pretty decent. It's a good filler thing until you get something better. Meat chunk, I believe. Right? No, I'm sorry, not meat chunk. Stone blood? Stone blood, yeah. So it gives you weak weights for weak radiation. So we'll put it with, where are the others? Where are their weaks? There's so many. Where are the other weak ones? Do I put those in B tier? Well, the ones I put in B have 2 effects. So I would say it has to go in C, maybe. I think. This is just, or no, I think I put them like here. Like less, yeah, they're a little bit worse than the 2 effect ones. Right. Yeah, I think they're still, I don't think they're, yeah, the weight reducing is always B, it's always good. Even if it's just like 2-3 kilograms, it matters, it's more money. So Stoneheart, same thing, same exact effect. Rat King. King of the Rats belongs in the trash. It's just radio weak, right? And get to the, where is it? There it is. Actually, oh, maybe not. Maybe, well, weak radiation for weak bleed and electrical. Really, you want the bleed. That's usable. I'll put it in low C. Usable. I think this is steak, isn't it? Yeah, steak. So bleed resist for weak radiation, low C. Thorn, radio protection weak, goes with the others that do that. Here we go, Thunderberry. Radiation maximum for max endurance. Easy S tier. Max endurance. Let's say these are like pretty tied. You can say these are tied. I think these are all really good. Okay, Torch. Weight effect, weight. Let me look up Torch. It just says weight effect, weight. It doesn't say what type, so let me Google that really quick. Yeah, you get 2 mediums, but one of them's thermal protection. So you get a strong radiation for a medium weight and a medium thermal. Because you get a medium weight, I'll put it in low, or like mid C tier. But strong, like you would use this in, this would just be used for the medium weight. The thermal protection is just like a small bonus. But really you'd throw that in a container, like a lead container. Tourist Breakfast just gets you medium for medium chemical. No, not worth it. Urchin, radio protection medium. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so we're down to, or no, let's get through this before we get to the others. Whirlwind. Whirlwind is quite good. You get, for weak radiation, you get endurance weak, physical protection weak. So we'll put that with the other duels, because those are pretty nice. So you get two really good effects. Endurance is nice for sprinting. Physical protection is nice for not dying. And then, oh yeah, we have wrenched, or wrenched, or wretched, or wrenched. Radiation weak, physical protection weak. It's not bad. Let's say around there. Okay. All the weird ones. So we'll start with weird ball, I guess. Doesn't really matter. So it reduces damage when standing still, and then it also says that it reduces damage when not standing still, but not by as much. So for Weird Ball, it starts off at 0.5 kilograms, and as you take damage and it reduces damage, it spikes up to 5 kilograms. And I don't know that when it's at 5 kilograms, it stops reducing damage, but it does slowly lose that weight over time, and it'll go back down to 0.5 kilograms. So that's what it does, but it has no radioactive downside at all. So it doesn't need a lead container, doesn't need radiation fixing. The downside of its weight can be undone by unequipping it, and then it just drains over time anyways, and it drains over time while you're just sitting on it. Let's zoom out a bit. So it's pretty fair to say this is low S tier, because you can get it immediately, and it just always does something useful. Maybe it's even better than these because you don't have to find it, but I'll put it better than Compass. I think that's fair. All right, the weird bolt. So one of the interesting things about this is a lot of people have been reporting that acquiring it has broken their save file. So that has caused me to not want to get it. But aside from that, it reduces damage from anomalies if the bolt is charged, and I believe it is recharged during emissions. It's weird. It's a weird bolt. I don't really think it's that good, honestly. Reduces damage from anomalies. Like, you can take this, it's like, I don't know, maybe here. Assuming it doesn't crash your game. You know what? I don't even know. Maybe high C tier. It's also really hard to get. Well, it's not hard to get. It's annoying to get. There's a difference. It's not that it's hard to get. It's that it's finicky and weird and buggy to get, as far as I can tell. And you have to like kind of follow the eye of the storm in some tornado so you don't get sucked up in it. Then you have to grab it while it's moving. And then the tornado hits you after the fact. Like, because you have to get out of the tornado. I don't know. It's very strange. It's a very weird way to get it. But that aside, it doesn't really do anything that's like obviously really good. Like, reducing damage from anomalies is nice, but armor does that really well, especially endgame armor. But it still has a use case. I don't know that I would run this, honestly. I don't see the point in it. If you run it, definitely let me know how good it is. But like, how useful is this really? How many anomalies does it let you tank before it needs recharged? Also, weird flower. So this one's interesting. Sleeping with this flower masks your scent, which helps you be sneaky versus mutants. Is this useful when you can run away from mutants? I don't think so. I'll put it in low C tier because it technically has a use, but how often is that ever even like a useful feature? First of all, stealth in Stalker 2 is trash. AI is so good at finding you, especially through like foliage, bushes, trees, even like physical terrain sometimes. Like, you get detected so easily. I don't know that this even really matters ever. So if you found that it matters and you're like a stealth enthusiast, drop a comment. But as far as I can tell, it's just not very good and doesn't do much. Weird nut. So the weird nut is interesting because essentially it allows you to pull bleed off of yourself rapidly. It's also easy to get. Weird nut is an example of what the weird bolt acquiring or acquisition should have been, where it's like they're all kind of similar, but like it's more intuitive, where it's like it ebbs and flows, kind of almost like the weird ball. So getting it's a little bit more enjoyable than the weird bolt, which feels like a chore. But you heal slower from using healing items, but you rapidly pull bleed off yourself. So this, I would say, is like here. Like high B tier. Now, why not S tier? Well, it slows down healing. And when you go to heal yourself in veteran mode, if you're taking too much damage, the rate at which you heal could literally be preventing you from dying. So slowing down healing is bad. So I'd rather have an artifact that pulls bleeds off me quickly that doesn't do that than one that does. But unlike the other weird artifacts, the weird flower diminishes over time also, so you have to keep sleeping with it, which is kind of unfortunate. The weird bolt has to be recharged, I think, through emissions, and then the weird ball does like lose its weight over time, so then it can absorb more damage. But this is one of the few ones that just always functions, so it doesn't have like a... its downside is that in DPS-oriented like pressure instead of damage over time, like if you're getting shot at and you're popping heals to heal yourself, this could potentially get you killed because your healing rate is not high enough. So I don't know. There's an actual downside to it. Weird water, probably the best artifact in the game. You don't have to have it equipped all the time. All right, so here's my advice for weird water. Run weight reduction artifacts that are not weird water. Keep weird water in your inventory at all times. Only equip it when you are pack muling a ton of shit. And especially after combat. Now you can get used to fighting with it on, but it'll mess your aim up all the time, no matter what. So what it does, it gives you the permanent drunk effect. So you're constantly, like, your camera's swaying, and it also changes the colors slightly. So what will happen is if you're trying to be like precise and go for long range headshots, or you need precision, it will constantly it'll just make it harder to aim in general. You can still aim with it, it just makes it harder. Combine the weird water drunk effect plus you getting hit by enemy fire, causing you to flinch. It can make it significantly harder to land accurate shots. So just equip it after combat, and like if you know combat's coming up, you can like unequip it really quick. But if you're pack muling, you can probably just keep sprinting and chugging energy drinks to run by enemies and open firefights. And not, like, I would avoid fighting with this on, but always have it with you. You should always have this. It's the best artifact in the game. It gives you the highest carry weight. There's no reason not to have it with you. Then finally, we have the weird pot. Reduces hunger, makes it longer for you to become hungry. You can sometimes, however, experience damaging psi hallucinations. This is one of the ones that it's like... Honestly, I think it's bad. What's the point of it? I would just sell it. I think it's sell it. Alright, so here's why. Hunger is the easiest thing to deal with in the game. You kill a group of enemies, half of them have food on them. There is no problem with hunger in STALKER. There's food. There's an abundance of food in bases, an abundance of food in crates, an abundance of food in loot, an abundance of food literally just around. If there's a campfire, there's probably food items around it. If there's a house, there's food items in it. If there's a cave, there's probably like a dude hunched up over in a corner with like a sausage in his hand or something. Like there's like food everywhere constantly. So it solves a problem that doesn't exist, which sucks because it could be something interesting. And it also now causes you to randomly take damage. So like if you're in like an intense firefight and you're running weird pot, you're going to be randomly attacked by things that rush you through the wall from a random direction. So if you're aiming down sight, shooting at something, taking damage from enemy fire from like an angle or something, and like now there's just a chance that a psi illusion last hits you, which is terrible. So it literally doesn't help you at all and just sucks. Now if it like healed you over time, like let's say it nullifies hunger and heals you over time slightly. Now that's a good item, even with the psi hallucinations, because then it's like constantly topping you off. Then it would have a use case, but it actually just makes the game harder. It doesn't really solve anything because food is so abundant that it never matters. And weird water solves the biggest problem in the game, which is just carry weight. It's funny that that's the biggest problem in the game, but it is, and everyone knows it. It's not even close, dude. Carrying capacity is the #1 best stat in the game because you know you're going to be getting good armor and you're going to have good guns and whatever. So all of that other stuff doesn't matter, but the only things that can fix carry weight are like exosuits, certain artifacts, and weird water. That's it. That's oh yeah, and Hercules. Those are the major things. And the reason why carry weight is so important is because you have to sell things in order to make money, in order to pay for repairs, and to upgrade your stuff. Now, I know 50,000 people will be like, oh, just do artifact runs. And I am not the only person who does not like farming. So I'm just going to be, I'll be the defender of the normal gamer here, even though you could argue maybe I'm not because I have like thousands of hours in all these different games. But farming is boring. I don't like farming. I don't want to farm. So if I am doing a mission and I could carry a bunch of guns and then make more money to upgrade my shit, I'd rather just throw weird water on and just continue moving from point A to point B than fast traveling to a different location and doing like a route to get items in a single player game that I'm playing for 50 hours before I beat it. That's just my take on that. If you want to artifact farm, all the power to you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I literally get like several of these a day at this point of just people pointing out, you can just it's like, I know. We all know, dude. We all know about artifact farming. If you want to do that for money, that's fine. But I just like to play the game without farming. And I'm sure many other people like that as well. So that is my farming rant. All right, so here's where I think the artifacts are. Weird Water is the best one. Hypercube's insane. Jesus Christ, how did I forget the name of that? I'm like drawing a blank. What is this? Oh my god. Liquid Rock, Jesus. Yeah, Liquid Rock is really good. Thunderberry is really good. Weird Ball, Compass, really good. And then the other one that increases carry weights by a lot, Night Star, also really good. If you can get like 2 to 3 Night Stars early and then a Weird Water, like you're pretty set for carry weight. Now, if you, all right, and now I'll do the opposite. Now I'll defend the artifact running people. You make a lot of money artifact running. And if you want to never worry about carry weight because you just have so much money from artifact running, then you can play in the opposite way. You can be like, well, I don't give a shit about carry weight. I just want bleed resist, endurance, and, you know, whatever the hell else, physical protection I want. And I'm going to run those, and I'm just going to artifact run to fund my game so I don't have to, like, pack mule crap all the time, which actually is probably more fun to do. So there's pros and cons to either thing. In one way, you're never going out of your way to make money, and you're easily making enough. And the other way, you never have to have high carry weight because you always have money because you're always doing like a 5-10 minute artifact run or whatever to fund your adventures and stuff. Now, maybe the devs adjust the repair costs again, but I don't know. Do we need it at this point? Maybe it could be a little bit better. I really don't know what I would do to change the economy in this game. I feel like there's a lot of moving parts. Like if you just make it so that repair costs are cheaper, now everyone's just rich all the time. So it's like, I feel like it's kind of fine where it's at. Maybe change it so that you sell things for slightly more. Maybe that would fix it. Maybe like the base sell rate's a little bit higher. I don't know. But that is it for the artifact tier list. Definitely let me know if you think certain things are higher and why. Typically, I value carry weight the most because you basically want to carry stuff to sell it. Or also maybe you just want to carry stuff and not be encumbered, because that's also good. Like you want to have a bunch of weapons and ammo, which is nice, and, you know, supplies to heal yourself and stuff like that. So you could also argue just from that standpoint, you want at least some. In terms of just like raw value from artifacts, this isn't terrible. This is almost like, I mean, a lot of artifacts did end up and just get rid of it, sell it. So I don't really know. I feel like a lot of artifacts just don't provide enough value to justify running them, especially like the ones that just give you like a weak or medium, like like chemical or like thermal or electrical protection. Those just aren't like high enough value to justify running, in my opinion. Maybe you think differently. Maybe you find them to be good still. Let me know what you think about this, if I'm way off on things. And that is it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.